Hey there, this is LaQuita with QuitaBugHandmades.com. Thank you so much for joining me today for another Stampin' Up tutorial. So today I wanted to share a New Year's themed card with you, and I am featuring, I'm actually combining the More Wishes stamp set with the Biggest Wish stamp set to give my sentiment the look that I wanted. So using both of these today, and I'm using some really pretty paper. So I am mixing a pattern from the Winter Meadow 12 by 12 Designer Series paper. I love this paper, so I'm actually mixing this tree pattern right here with a pattern from the Snowflake Magic 12 by 12 Specialty Designer Series paper. So this paper is so pretty, and I had not used it yet, and so I'm actually pairing, let me get it, the tree pattern with this beautiful snowflake pattern. Isn't that so pretty? I love that foil, that foiling on there. And this is done in Lost Lagoon. So pretty, and I thought they looked really nice together. So we are going to actually start by doing some die cutting first. So I have got a piece of Lost Lagoon cardstock here and a piece of basic white cardstock. And I'm going to be die cutting these two pieces of cardstock using these two dies right here. And these dies are from the Something Fancy dies. So these are really fun dies, and this is my first time to use these. So I've got my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I am going to put in plate number 1, then my well-used cutting plate, and from my piece of basic white, I am going to go ahead and cut the smaller, label that I selected. Let's cut that out. And then I'm going to cut the larger label from my piece of Lost Lagoon cardstock. And now I'm going to go ahead and stamp on my basic white piece first. And I'm going to bring in this piece of scratch paper. You can see all my stamping from when I designed this card. But so I've got my basic white piece here. And for the first part of my sentiment, I'm going to stamp that in Lost Lagoon. And I'm stamping the word happy. And the happy that I'm using comes from the Biggest Wish stamp set. So I'm just going to ink this up. And I want to stamp it off on my scratch paper. And then I'm going to stamp it in the center of my die cut, just like that. And now in Versamark ink, I'm going to stamp New Year across the word happy. Got my little powder tool here so that I can make sure my embossing powder only sticks where I want it to stick. And then I am going to ink up. I already put New Year on my block where I wanted it, and I just laid these two stamps down on my grid mat so that I got them spaced how I wanted to, and then I picked them up with my block. I'm using an H block. So I'll just ink this up with my Versamark ink. So this ink allows you to put your embossing powder on top so that you can heat set it. Okay, so I'm just going to put that right there. Okay, you can't see anything yet. And then now flip my scratch paper over very carefully. I'm going to pick up my die cut. Then I'm bringing in some silver embossing powder, trying to make sure I don't touch where I stamped. And then I'm just going to pour this on top. Okie dokie. And you can see, now you can see New Year. So we're going to heat set this with our heat tool. Just put my extra back in the pot. And then I like to let my heat tool warm up for just a second before I put it to my stamped image. And I'm going to use my new Stampin' Up! Tweezers to hold this so that I don't burn my fingers or anything like that. And you can get these tweezers and the embossing powder tool in the, I think it's called the embossing accessories kit. I can't remember the exact name, but it's something like that. And I'll have it linked down below in the video description and on today's blog post with all the supplies. So hopefully you can see that pretty silver embossing. All right, now we can start putting this card together. So for my card base, I've got a piece of basic white thick cardstock. This is cut 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I've scored it at 4 1/4 inches. Just give it a crease with my bone folder. There we go. Then I have got a piece of, this is Pebbled Path cardstock, which is one of our new in colors. So this is cut 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and I am going to add my 2 pieces of designer series paper. So this first piece is cut 2 1/4 by 5 inches, and my second piece is cut 1 1/2 inches by 5 inches, and I'm just going to lay these down where I want them, and I'm leaving a nice border on all 4 sides. Want it to be even all the way around, so I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to bring in my liquid glue here to get these added down. Okay. All right, looks good. Then I have got some white ribbon here, and I am going to wrap this ribbon. Oh, well, this is all I have, so I hope I can make this work. I didn't know this was all I had left, but apparently this is it. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this around and tie myself a bow off to the right. I should have enough. This should be enough. I'm just gonna take this piece of tape off here. Well, actually, let me just cut it off. All right, so I am going to tie myself a bow, if I can get my ribbon to lay the way that I want it to. All right, I think that looks good. Tie my bow. Whoopsies. Okay, and get my tails. Oh, this is a little bit loose. I think I'm gonna tie it again. And there we go, that's better. Okay, so now I can just pull these little tails to get my ribbon the way that I want it. Okay, I think that looks good, but I'm gonna wait to cut the ends until I know for sure this is how I want it. Okay, so I can go ahead and put this onto the front of my card, and I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal. Okay, add this on the center of my card front. That looks good. Isn't this a pretty card? So pretty already. And then I'll just bring in some dimensionals here, and I am going to put 6 dimensionals on the back of this piece, just because it did get just a tiny bit warped from the heat setting. So I want to make sure that it lays flat on my Lost Lagoon label here. So just center that up. All right, press that down, and then dimensionals on the back of this piece. All right, got my backings off, and I will just put this over here off to the left. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's perfect, just like so. Kind of twist my bow a little bit so it's not fully covering that sentiment, and then I'll go ahead and trim my tails. That looks good. And then I'm going to finish this card with some of the rhinestone basic jewels. I'm just going to use some of these smaller jewels, and for me personally, I do like to put down, ooh, and my ribbon's gonna be in the way of where I wanted that jewel to go. All right, I did a little twisting around there. I personally like to do a little bit of liquid glue. Even though these already have adhesive on the back, I find that here in Texas, I cannot get the rhinestones. They don't make it through the mail. Some of them fall off. So I just put a couple, like just very small dots of glue just to kind of anchor those rhinestones in place a little bit more. So just so you can see, it's just a very small dot of glue that I put there just to hold those in place a little better. And now I can pick up my rhinestones and just put them right in that glue. There we go. But again, you don't have to do that because they do have adhesive on the back, but for mailing purposes, I find I need that for these rhinestones. All right, and there you have it. That finishes up today's card. Happy New Year. I think it's so pretty. Happy New Year. Hopefully you can see that really well. And then I added a little designer paper onto my envelope flap, and this pattern that's on the envelope flap is actually the back side of the tree pattern. So looks perfect together. So I love this card. I hope that you have enjoyed today's tutorial. I hope that this inspires you in your crafting. And don't forget, you can find all of the measurements and supplies for today's project linked and listed down below in the video description and over on today's coordinating blog post, which is linked down below. So thank you guys so much for watching today's tutorial. And thank you so much to those of you who place orders with me. And don't forget, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. And thank you guys so much for all that you do. I appreciate you. Have a great day and stay tuned because I'll be back again very soon with another tutorial. Bye now.